started. Okay, I think we are recording. So I just have 4 really quick announcements. For those of you that are going to Summit, hopefully you have everything kind of in order and arranged for that. We leave in just a few days. That's FAQ 7308. Don't forget that you can download the Team Beachbody Coach app. It's the TBB Events app, and that'll kind of give you the lowdown on the agenda and just basically anything and everything that you could possibly need or want to know while you are at Summit. So super excited about that trip. The second announcement is Lift 4. Surely you have seen all of the buzz about Lift 4 by now. The full program won't officially launch until July 16th. That's FAQ 7500. But do keep in mind that through the early access, the VIP early access release, they get $10, your customers and clients and new coaches get $10 off their challenge packs. They also get access to 4 20-minute workouts. They're called B4 Lift 4 before the full program launches in July. And then they can also get access to the coach test group with Joel that will start on July 16th with the purchase of a challenge pack as a coach. Meste Moss is also on the horizon for launch on July 16th as well. That's FAQ 52224. Same kind of thing with $10 off the challenge packs and bundles. The VIP early access means you get 3 workouts now, and then you also get access to the coach test group. And then FAQ 9718, if you achieve Success Club this month, you earn access to a webcast with Rachel Hollis, who is the author of Girl Wash Your Face, which I know a lot of us have read or are currently reading that book. So that's going to be super fun as well, just kind of as an extra incentive. So into tonight's content, we have Dara LaPorta here to share some tips and tricks in her heart with us. She is a wife of almost 10 years. She has 4 little ones. She's been coaching for a little over 4 years. She's a 3-time elite, Success Club 10 legend, 54 months straight, and a 6-figure earner. So obviously she knows what she's doing, and I'm really excited for us to be able to hear from her tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to you, Dara, and then we can just kind of chime in with questions or anything as you go. Okay, there we go.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me, Beth. We have literally been talking about this call for like 3 to 6 months at least. I don't know why it was so hard to schedule, but I'm really always am just honored when a coach reaches out to me and would like me to, talk to their team. I don't take that for granted. I remember sitting on these calls as a new coach and just being like, gosh, I wonder if I would ever do that. I wonder if I'll ever know enough and have enough success to get asked to do that. And so that feeling really doesn't leave me even now. So I'm always honored. Thank you, Beth. It's been fun getting to know you just a little bit with our communication, but Beth already gave you the stats. So I'm just going to start with sharing a little bit of my story and kind of just give you some things I've learned, some mantras that have just carried me through this business throughout, this last 4.5 years. I had actually heard about Beachbody in 2010, 4 years before I actually signed up. My coach is Lindsay Matway, and she went to my church. So I actually didn't just find her randomly, I knew her. And I remember she talked to me about it. And as soon as I heard it was network marketing, I was like, I'm done. No, thank you. Even though at the time my husband played professional baseball. So we were traveling around the country. It would have been the perfect thing for me to do in that situation. I couldn't get a real job. We moved at least 3 times a year. I was bored out of my mind. I was passionate about fitness, health and fitness. I'd gotten my degree in fitness and wellness from the University of Florida. I was an athlete there, a track athlete, but I was just so afraid. I was so afraid of network marketing. I was so afraid of what people would think. And I was also cocky. It was like, I don't need that, And I had an ego thing with it. And so I was like, absolutely not. But it was one of those things that just never left my mind. I'm sure some of you can relate to that. You think about it and you keep pushing it aside, coming up with all the reasons you shouldn't do it. So it was just one of those things that kind of kept circling and I kept pushing back. But finally, It was right at the beginning of 2014. At the time, a lot had changed since Lindsay had first asked me about it. So keep that in mind when you're talking to people. It might not be their time now, but 4 years later, and I know it feels like a long time to wait, this is a long-term business. 4 years later, it was exactly what I needed. And I had no ego, no pride left to say no. Had suddenly become a mom of three. I had a 2-year-old daughter and twin 2-month-old sons in January of 2014. All I had ever wanted to do was be a mom. I just knew that was my calling. I, did pursue my degree and stuff, but I never wanted a career. I wanted to be a mom. And so I got that. I had always wanted twins, like just crazy stuff. And I had everything I could have ever wanted. So you can imagine the shock and the fear and the surprise when I was still feeling really, I don't want to say really unfulfilled. I love my kids, but you guys get it, right? I was drowning. I was overwhelmed by motherhood. I wasn't being, even though I thought that was like definitely what God had called me to be, there was still more left in me, besides being a mom. And I didn't realize that. And then you feel guilty for wanting more, right? And so that's where I was when in January of 2014. And I just, had kind of seen Lindsay's posts here and there throughout the last 4 years. And I saw, a post of hers, asking to, they called it at the time an apprenticeship, and, makes it feel really official. And I just clicked and I signed up without even talking to my husband. And it was just one of those things I had to do, which actually, this is just another side little tip. At the time, I had several other friends, like really close friends in baseball, that were doing Beachbody. And they had never personally invited me, which was fine. I don't, but it's kind of just Lindsay's is the post I saw in that moment. And obviously we can't be posting 24/7, but do stay consistent with that, because you never know when, your post is going to be the one someone sees and they're like, yes, that's me right now. I'm doing this. So that's just another side tip. So I was so desperate. I had to try it, despite I still had all the same fears. It was even worse off, before I didn't do it because I had an ego. And now I had no ego left, through the process of baseball with my husband. I had been so focused on him and his dreams. I had really lost sight of my own. So you combine that with just the overwhelming feeling of inadequacy with motherhood. And I was just in a low spot. I didn't feel like I was good at anything. I didn't feel like I had influence. I didn't think this was going to work for me. I just had to try something. And that's the truth. So I really tiptoed in. It seems like I feel like my story is probably very similar to many people's, but I feel like so many of the top coaches, it was like they were all in day one, balls to the walls, and I wasn't. I just, and maybe that's why I'm not a top coach, but I tiptoed in, you guys. Again, I knew that I had to get control of my fitness, that at least that would make me feel better. So I, started P90X3, still one of my favorite programs that had just come out, I think that January. And I decided to try that. And I was just still I did the things Lindsay told me to do, because that's the kind of person I am. I'm a rule follower, but I didn't do it with belief. I didn't do it with that authentic passion. I had never done a Beachbody program before, or tried Shakeology. So I was tiptoeing in because I was like, I don't even know if this crap works. Like Shakeology, I'm pretty sure it's still a scam, but I got to try it. Needless to say, 3 months in to doing my workout, sharing a little bit of my journey on social media and drinking that shake, I felt more like myself in that 3 months than I had in the previous 3 years. And for me, that was all it took to just say, okay, I'm in. So while I tiptoed in that first 3 months, I made a choice, right around, I guess it would have been April, where I was like, why not me? I think I can do this. And that really leads me to my first point. You can choose to believe, even if you're not feeling it, even if you're not sure you do, even if you still have a ton of doubt and insecurities and fears, you can make the choice to believe in this business. And, for me, a lot of the ways I did that, I had the total honor, and it was terrifying, to do the National Wake Up Call in April. And Sandy asked me, she's like, well, what do you think made you believe besides, I had been doing my workouts and the results? I go, it was these wake up calls. I just kept hearing these stories of these, no offense, but really average, ordinary people doing just these amazing things. And it finally just was like, okay, why not me? And so choose to believe, and if you're still struggling with that, get on these team calls, listen to the National Wake Up Calls, go back in the archives of the National Wake Up Calls, watch the coach success stories I think those are still in your coach online office. There are things you can do to fuel that belief, even if, you don't always feel it. So choose to believe that you're in the right place at the right time and that this is going to work for you. I just think it's okay to start slow. It's okay to start with some fear and some hesitancy, and tiptoe in. But eventually, in my opinion, you have to make the choice to just say, okay, we're doing this. I am going to choose to believe in this business, in my coach, and in myself. The next thing, though, my next point is that I talk about this point because despite the fact that I was getting excited about this business, it was filling in those gaps, in my heart and in my soul. Being a mom was still my number one priority. That didn't change just because this business came along. And even if I wanted it to change, which I didn't, it couldn't change. This always had to be secondary to my faith, to my family, no matter what. So I realized pretty early on that it was going to be easy for this business to get consuming, because it's fun and it requires being on social media. So I just think it's so important. It's something I talk to my coaches about because this is what's going to prevent burnout, what I'm about to say. You cannot sacrifice your priorities on the altar of your goals. I just believe that so passionately. I'll say it one more time. You cannot sacrifice your priorities on the altar of your goals. It is so easy to get caught up in the shiny stuff of this business, the rank advancements and, the status stuff. And please shoot for those goals by all means, but make sure what you're doing to shoot for those goals and that those goals line up with your priorities. They just have to. If those two things don't line up, the pursuit of those goals and even the achievement of those goals will never feel as good as they should. You know what I'm saying? Do you ever have those days where you had a really productive business day, but you were pushing your kids away the whole day, or you yelled because you were impatient because you were trying to do stuff? I have, more often than I'd like to admit. And no matter how productive I was, I don't end my day feeling like a success. Because on that day, I chose to sacrifice what was most important for, business. So I'm just very passionate about that. It's something I think that will ultimately create longevity in your business. I believe it will prevent burnout in your business if you are sticking to your priorities. And just setting really strong boundaries around that. I have been really locking down. Actually, I could be doing a better job. At the beginning of the year, I really wanted to lock down how often I was on my phone. And I'm so tired of coaches coming to me and saying, I can't do this business. I'm on my phone too much. And what I really want to say is that's not Beachbody's fault. That's your fault. You have the choice. You get to set the boundaries. You get to make the rules. You are the CEO of this business. You get to choose. You get to make the rules. And so I just really firmly believe in that. Schedule in your time without your phone so you can have that. For me, it's my TV time with my spouse, or that, just FaceTime with my kids, or I'm on the floor and I'm playing and my phone is nowhere nearby. I just think that's really important and a really big part of keeping your priorities and keeping first things first. And I know that's hard. And I feel like, to be honest, that doesn't get talked about enough, from Beachbody and even corporate. I'm not saying that there's not going to have to be sacrifices that, need to be made. Of course, you're going to have to find other times to work this business. But if you're doing it, again, in a way that it's really cutting into your priorities, it's not going to work. So, okay. So the next thing I want to say is, you do not have to be extraordinary, but you do have to be extraordinarily consistent. Again, this is a topic I'm really passionate about. I don't think I do any one thing particularly well, particularly wonderful in this business, but I am really consistent. And I'm not really going to get into the nuts and bolts of that. This point alone was what my whole national wake up call was on. So it was in April. Go back and find it if you really want to get into, what that looks like and what I mean by that. But I imagine most of us are doing this part-time. Most of us do not have 8 hours a day to work this business uninterrupted. Whether you have a full-time job, whether you have little kids at home like me, you have to fit this business in the nooks and crannies. And that means you're not going to be able to do everything on your to-do list. You're just not. So I'll run through it real quick. One of the first things that I realized, and I believe led to a lot of success, is just really early on, I was able to discern, okay, I'm not going to be able to do all these extra things that some of these trainings are talking about. I'm going to have to really narrow down what I can do consistently. Because if there are 10 things on your list, you're not going to be consistent, because you're not going to have the time to do those 10 things every day. So I had a non-negotiable list, and those were my consistent things. And to me, that should be 2 to 3 activities. Like I said on the call, it's probably going to look like the vital behaviors. For me, that was sharing my journey on social media and, connecting with people. And then, workout and shake and personal development, those aren't even on my non-negotiable list, because to me, those are automatic behaviors. So if your workout if your 45-minute workout is like part of your 1 hour work block, I don't think it should be like that. That should be like extra. You need to have that 1 hour work block to do your business. So again, personal development, drinking your shake, doing your workout, those should be automatic. Those are not part of this non-negotiable list I'm talking about. Again, for me, it was sharing my journey, connecting, and inviting to like a group every month. That was something that even in those early months when, you don't have a lot of traction yet maybe, and you're posting and nobody comments, and it's just kind of feels humiliating even, because there's no comments when you're like, hey, comment below and nobody comments. Even through that, I kept inviting to a group the next month. And I just think that was important, because what did I say earlier? One day your post is going to be the one somebody sees, or when the person is ready, they need to know you're still running groups, because you're still posting about them every month, no matter what the result. So I just think that's really important when it comes to, you don't have to be extraordinary, but you have to be extraordinarily consistent. And yes, that means with your fitness journey, doesn't mean being perfect. We know that. Definitely with sharing on social media and what you're doing. And even just connecting with people somewhat consistently, just, having some kind of system for when do you check in with your customers? When do you check in with your, prospects? When do you check in with your coaches? I just think having consistency in that is going to be key, because consistency and time management and being disciplined in those things, that feels restrictive to a lot of people. But for me, that is what brings freedom in this business. Knowing when I'm going to work this business, and then knowing what I need to do when I work this business, that frees me up to go hang out with my kids or hang out with my husband at this time, because I know tomorrow from 9 to 10, I'm going to be able to answer that message. So I don't need to do it right this second. So to me, having those, and I've never had the consistent work hours. I have 4 kids, 6 years old and under. I do not have consistent work hours. But it's still, even if it's like a weekly look or a daily, okay, tomorrow this is going to be my work time. And it's just having an idea of when you're going to be able to work is a huge part of setting yourself up to be consistent. Okay, let me check. I'm a notes girl, so let me make sure. Okay, my fourth point, and I only have 5. You guys are so lucky. Don't be jealous, be inspired. Again, something I struggled with my first few months and realized I needed to nip in the bud real quick was the comparison game. As a matter of fact, there's a girl who signed up within a week from me, also under Lindsay Matway. We were on the same team, we had the same trainings, and her name is Bonnie Engel. And she, of course, exploded, on the scene. And it was so easy to feel like, gosh, what am I doing wrong? And what if, complaining and whining. The truth is, she was working harder than me. Bottom line, she had more time to work this business, which she would agree with, but she was working that time. She was doing the work and she was working her tail off to be where she is. So I realized really quickly I could choose. Again, you always have a choice. Are you noticing that? To be jealous and feel sorry for myself, or I could choose to let her inspire me and be like, wow, look what she did. We signed up at the same time and look where she's at. If I could even do that in 3 or 4 years, how cool would that be? And that's how you have to look at it. You have to own your journey. Me and Bonnie Engel had completely different lives when we signed up. It was ridiculous that I would ever compare what I was doing to what she was doing. And again, she would agree with that. We've talked about this. We've laughed about this, and own your journey. Be confident in what you're doing and where you're going. And then cheer everyone else on and choose to be inspired by the people that just seem to be hitting those milestones quicker than you. It is okay if you're going at a different pace than somebody else. The whole consistency thing and having those non-negotiables, be confident in the activities that you are doing. Choose to trust the process. That is something that was huge for me early on. I didn't know how this was going to work. I couldn't imagine how my paychecks would just suddenly, get bigger. I don't know. I didn't know who was going to join my team. Again, I remember as a new coach, I'm like, I don't even know if I wanted to do this. How am I going to get someone else to do this with me? But I just kept doing the things, and I chose, again, to trust my coach, Lindsay. I chose to trust this business model, and I chose to believe in it and me, and trust the process. So don't be jealous, be inspired. Really recognize and take ownership of your journey. And also something else, when I say own your journey, it's not just about, oh, well, I only have this much time, so I'm just not going to be able to. It's also owning that, like, I did a call about being a, full-time mom, part-time coach. And part of that was not just, oh, I just don't have enough time. It was owning the fact that I didn't want to work this business with every spare moment I had. And that's okay, but you have to own that too. I had to stop telling myself that I didn't have enough time, because the truth is I do have more time than I'm committing to this business. And that's okay with me. And that actually leads me right into my next point. This is my favorite point. Beachbody does not have to be your life in order to radically transform your life. Again, I feel like some of the stories you might hear, these coaches are working their businesses 10 to 12 hours a day, and I believe them, and good for them. But A, I don't have that time. B, that's not why I signed up. This was always meant to be a side thing for me. I was always meant to keep my family first. And I'm not saying those coaches aren't, for the record. I'm just saying, for me, I don't even want to work like that. And that's okay. And this business has still changed me, changed my family in every way possible. And I have never made this business my life. I have never worked, even probably a 6-hour day doing this business. I have been very part-time with this business, but I've been really consistent. Like I said, I've chosen to believe and trust the process. I've kept my priorities so that I could do this business with like a clear, and pure heart. It wouldn't feel right if I wasn't doing that. And so I remember talking, I actually had the privilege to talk to Michael Neiman at last year's leadership. And I was, again, I think sometimes even I've felt like, geez, maybe I'm supposed to give all my time and sacrifice like everything to make this work and be successful. And I was just kind of sharing how it's still just a daily battle of, fitting this business into my life and being a mom and where to give my energy. And I don't know what else he said, or maybe he didn't say anything else, but what I heard was so simply and so kindly. He said, they're only going to be little for so long. And that just affirmed everything I needed to know and hear in that moment, that Michael Neiman, corporate honcho, told me, put your family first, always. And maybe again, you're not your family. Maybe it's still your full-time job or whatever it is. Keep your priorities, and this business can still work for you. It does not have to be your life in order to radically transform your life. So that's actually all I got.
Awesome. Thank you. I have a quick question. We have like 4 or 5 minutes. So I was going to ask, with keeping your priorities kind of at the forefront of, or essentially aligned with your goals, were there any sort of, at the beginning of your business and even like to this day, are there any sort of kind of bare minimum goals, business goals that you set for yourself on a monthly basis that kind of ensure not only that you're keeping those priorities in mind, but that you're still hitting those business goals that you set for yourself?
Yes. So it is such a balance, but yeah, I mean, Success Club 10 for me, I've hit it 54 months in a row. I hit it since my first month of this business. That for me was everything. That I have to hit that. And I feel like if I'm doing that whole thing I said about like having confidence in what you're doing, that is what gave me confidence that I was still doing the right things. Maybe I wasn't recruiting a ton of coaches, but I was bringing new people into the business. As a matter of fact, again, I wasn't one of those coaches where my coach was like, okay, you're going to hit Success Club and then you're going to recruit this many people. I would have been like, see ya, I'm gone. Lindsay told me, hit Success Club this month. Find 2 to 3 people to join you. And I was like, oh, that's it? And don't get me wrong, it's still hard some months. I don't mean that. But just like, it can be so overwhelming, right? The recruiting and training groups and social media ads and marketing, like, wow, it can be so much. Narrow your focus to Success Club. Narrow your focus to that. And I'm not saying there aren't other things you're going to have to do down the road or in addition, but when you're like having one of those days where you're like, I don't know where to start, I feel so overwhelmed. Have you hit Success Club? What do you need to do to get there? That's it. That is what changed my business. It's what still changed, that is still what I focus on. I can't relax till that's done in the month.
I kind of have a question to add on to Beth. And you kind of answered it a little bit, I guess, but I think we have a lot of new coaches, and then you mentioned something about like you kind of started and didn't really know if you were going to go all in. You wanted your family and God to be a priority. So when your mindset shifted and like when you're talking to your new coaches, what would you have them focus on like in their first 7 days? Like, this is your first week as a coach. This is your first week being like, I'm all in. I want to do this. Like, are there 2 or 3 things they should be focusing on those first 7 days?
Yeah, it would be the same thing, but like in specific action items, I think it's important to get your new coaches to get that post up, that first social media post that says, I'm a coach, I'm doing a group, and I want you to join me. I feel like the longer they wait, the scarier it becomes, the less motivated they become. So yeah, in that first 7 days, if it's a coach who's like wanting to work the business, you know, obviously you're not going to push someone who's like, just have them get it out there, no matter what it looks like, if it's awkward, whatever, just have them get it out there. And then, and just posting on social media regularly. Again, back when I started, it was 3 to 5 times a day. We're so lucky now. It's only like 1 to 2 times a day now, on Facebook at least. And so yeah, that is what, just start, you know, post at least once a day, get that big post out there. And I really still like, it's funny, I didn't do this, but I really believe in like, man, get your best friends behind you, get your mom and dad behind you, get those small wins up front. So yeah, I would tell my new coaches too, like, talk to your hot market. And, you know, there's so many great ways to do that in a did you guys read Get Over Your Damn Self? You guys read that? I had not heard it called a dirt list, but I loved that. Like, and I know, believe it or, I mean, it's so, I know a lot of people don't even have that, you know, and that sucks, to be honest. But get that dirt list. The people that would buy dirt from you if you're selling it just because they love you. Get those small wins. Hopefully you can hit Success Club with that. Yeah. And I just make sure before I have them do the invite post, I make sure they know how to talk to the people. So I always have a video about what to say next. Okay, they're interested, now what? You know, and not just giving them all the details, but asking the questions, getting to know them. The coaching starts as soon as they say I'm interested, you know, and I want to make sure they know how to do that before they post that post so that they can start talking to people. And Success Club. I mean, they might not do that the first week, but that's what I want them thinking about, that first, you know.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions from anybody? This was fabulous. I have all the notes right here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This was everything I expected and so much more. If we don't have any more questions, I will go on ahead and I don't see anybody unmuting themselves and I don't see anything in the chat. So I will go on ahead and end the call. Dara, thank you so much. This was
welcome. Thank you for having me.
I know it's an hour later where you are versus where I am. So I appreciate you taking time to chat with us. And
good.
Yeah, this was awesome. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun to not see all of you, but talk to you guys. And always feel free to reach out. If any questions come up, let me know. But that National Wake Up Call has all the, like, again, details of the consistency factor and stuff like that. Oh, I will say, sorry, I will add one thing that is also probably unusual at this point. I am still almost 95% of my business comes from my personal Facebook page. I'm a big believer in that your warm market won't come out if you keep making new friends. So, you know, people I meet, you know, I don't know. So I just think I know, I'm not saying you shouldn't pursue other social media. I'm not saying you shouldn't pursue that. I mean, gosh, don't we all want that? Like hundreds of comments on our posts. I do. But also not to feel defeated if that just hasn't happened for you yet. 4.5 years in, 3-time elite, 6 figures, all from my warm market personal Facebook page, which I know people don't even talk about anymore, I feel like, but I'm still on it. I love Facebook. So that was the one thing I just wanted to say.
Awesome. Thank you. I will find the archive version of your National Wake Up Call because I remember that National Wake Up Call, and I'll share it with the link to this video.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Beth.